this is it. You're watching The Party Zone with Jean-Michel Jarre. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Simone. How are you?
I am very well, and I'm very happy to have you on the show because it doesn't happen very often on The Party Zone that we have a guest who has sold, what is it, 55 million records?
Apparently. You should ask the record company.
It's something like that. One of the biggest selling artists in the world ever, and he's on The Party Zone. So we're very honoured to have you on the show. And also, I have to say, you know, finding out about this man, it's like a history class. There's so many dates and so much information about this man. So, but we're going to try to have a good interview. And lucky enough, there was a guy called Mark Gidley who produces these magazines, Conductor of The Masses, and we have to say big thank you to Mark because he helped us with all the research, and you can find all the information actually on the addresses on your screen if you want to know more about this magazine, then get in contact with Mark. So Mark, thank you. Right, Jean-Michel, where do we start? Now let me see, you started playing piano when you were 5 years old.
Yeah, and I hated it.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, it was really, I had no full teacher and kind of Cruella de Vil type of spinster. Yeah. And she was awful, so I even had nightmares about her. So I left piano for 1 or 2 years, and then I went back with a much nicer guy. And then I went into rock bands and playing guitar. And then I fall into electronics in a kind of music research center, a school in Paris with very weirdos and strange people. That's had a really big effect on you, hasn't it? What's it called? It was a school at that time called the Research Music Center in Paris, where this guy really created with Stockhausen in Cologne in Germany, mostly in the late 40s, two different type of philosophy approaching electronic music, and before the synthesizers were existing, before I've been born. And when I was a student, it was very, very interesting because you had a lot of artists, a lot of painters, also philosophers, writers, and musicians. And the whole idea was not to approach music in terms of notes and solfeggios and codes, but really in terms of sounds and putting our hands on strange machines. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, because you walked out of the is it the conservatoire? Yeah, that's right. The kind of classical type of that's right, exactly. For our grandparents. Yeah, and you were bored and started experimenting. That's right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so I had a bit of both. Yeah. And the first time I put my hands on these electronic instruments, I mean, it really changed my life. I said to myself, this is the way I want to do music and not being anything else. And I must say that today, after having explored various ways, I'm more and more convinced that these instruments may be welcome kind of instruments for the future. What did your parents say when you switched from your beautiful piano to electronic music? Were they? Oh, it was too late. I mean, my parents split when I was 5, so my father used to live in America, and my mother was okay. She understood the concept. I had not too much problem with that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Because you say that you were forced going to piano lessons, so I could just imagine your parents going, oh, no. Because she knew the rock band, rock band electric guitar period just before, so it was worse. Yeah. So, what about just quickly, because we're going to go and see. Is it Oxygene? Yeah, Oxygene. Yeah. Number 4. Now you do always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is that? Is that because I mean, the idea of having, I love the concept of having one generic name, like a movie, like a novel. Because when you don't have lyrics, I think it's a bit artificial to have, I don't know, monolith number 327 or I don't know, I mean, these sometimes titles are a bit artificial in instrumental music. And when you have no lyrics, it's like in techno. It's good to have a kind of overall concept. And the idea with Oxygene was, to deal with this kind of ambiguous type of element that oxygen is, because you need oxygen to live. And as soon as you're in contact with it, you're starting to die. It's kind of life is a kind of slow oxidation. Yeah. Very interesting there indeed. Well, should we go and check it out? Should we go and have a look at it? Why not? With some penguins involved. Go and have a look at it.
Just tuned in, all I can say is that you're very, very lucky because you're watching a very special party zone with Jean-Michel Jarre. Ooh, like, let's talk about the epic concerts that you started. I think you started these in 1979, didn't you?
Yeah.
The big extravaganzas. So there was 1979, then in, let me see, 86, there was Houston.
That's right.
And Lyon, was it?
Yeah, exactly.
And there was the London Docklands in 88, and in 1990 it was Le Devens
in Paris, yes.
Paris.
Yeah.
I remember them all. It's like history class. So, about all those epic concerts, I mean, tell me a little bit more about it. I mean, what is it like doing something that enormous for you?
I mean, yeah, it's an idea I got at the beginning of the 80s, really, to try to involve, to mix architecture, environment, oversized graphics, lighting effects with music, and also the idea of pirate hijack one building, one district, one city for one night in a free concert attitude. Like, I mean, they've been really raised before its time, in a sense. I mean, the idea of putting technology and putting images and music and let's get party in somewhere that was not even allowed. Yeah. And in the middle of the street. So it has been really a mixture between land art and street art and outdoor rock concert. And I always loved the idea of one-offs. I mean, in days where everything is available, where you can have images all over the planet being the same, being repeated day after day. I mean, the fact that you have no second chance, that we are sharing something unique is, I always like that. I mean, it's kind of party zone.
Yeah.
You know, something that that not going to be reproduced next Saturday night.
Yeah. So what was it like? I mean, when you came with that idea to start doing these enormous things, how did people react? Did people understand your vision when you started talking about it? Before you'd done your first one, you try to explain it to people. Were you the only one who could actually see this? Or did other people straight away go, what a brilliant idea?
And you know, it's really strange because what happened is the first concert I've done was in Paris, and it was really a real experiment. It's the first time I was even using some big searchlights from the Second World War and things really strange that could burn an image instantly. So we had to get special glass with slides big like that, and in sync with the music, and the whole thing was really crazy. And so suddenly 1 million people came along, and I was absolutely terrified because with almost no promotion, suddenly, you know, the kind of people heard about it, and they just came, and it's strange that each time it was bigger and bigger, but without any strategy about it. And it's really, I think, in days where you can have Yeltsin or Clinton or Madonna or the Pope in your living room through your TV monitor, and you can't talk to your neighbor anymore next door. I think it's a lot. I mean, since these last few years, I think that a lot of people needed to share together something that has not been planned, that has not been over promoted. Also, I mean, the kind of, in a sense, underground touch of these events became really popular. It's really strange as a phenomenon. It's something that I've always been. I thought also that all along the 80s I was losing the control of all these kind of big machines. It just happened like that. It was great.
So what about what you said earlier? Because you said you kind of, it's almost like you were a pioneer of rave parties without even really intending to. How do you feel about that now? Say someone like Tribal Gathering or another big rave organisation would come to you and say, would you do something at say Tribal Gathering? Would you do something like that? Would you be into that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you mean raves?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be involved later this year in some raves in a kind of almost an anonymous, as an anonymous act almost.
Yeah.
I love this. I feel really strongly with the techno scene. I think the two big things that have changed the music in 20th century are probably Africa and technology, because Africa gave us the groove and the beat in our very square type of classical music, where everything had to be very coded and rather straight. And the second thing is technology, because of the fact that nowadays we can listen to music everywhere. 1 century ago, somebody was able to maybe listen to the same piece of music twice, and he was part of the elite. Because you had no recordings, and but nowadays you can hear your favorite song on MTV or in your CD player 20 times a day. And also, you realize that by the end of the century, we are all using electronic instruments for music, and techno is exactly that. It's the crossing point between Africa and technology. I mean, the fact that you have this relationship with trance and with I would say even like tribal rites, that you go back to the ancient days, that you are making up, you are painted your face, your body, and you are living music with your guts, with your body. It's really body language and technology. It's what I like so much in techno, and because it's also it's totally my world since I started music.
It's great to see you talk so passionately. It's fantastic. I love that. I love it.
Because, you know, I think that there is so... I mean, the 80s were so cold. Everything has to be precise, contained, controlled, crispy, and everything had to be and a bit too politically correct, in a sense. Digital had to be... Everything had to be clean. And I really love the 90s in the fact that everything is... We are definitely not digital animals. We are analog animals. We have our weaknesses, our dark sides. We have a kind of out of focus way of looking at life, and it's the reason why I like so much this kind of techno attitude of playing with, doing music with an old turntable, EQ, desk, mixing board, and doing just music for the instant without preconceived ideas almost.
I know, it's fascinating. Well, listen, we've got to go and watch a quick video now, because we can just chat for hours, as you have noticed.
I shut up now.
No, it's great.
Finished.
But we love it. It's great when people get going. Anyway, let's go and watch Equinoxe 4. Yes, okay. Equinoxe 4, here it is. And basically, you have inspired a lot of people on the dance scene, you know, together with people like James Brown and Kraftwerk, Can, you. But who are you inspired by? What inspired you when you were younger?
I mean, a lot of various things like paintings, movies, also the ethnic music, African music, and also the first electronic music, weird things from jazz player like Terry Riley's, or also some early work of John Cage or Philip Glass, or those type of... But I mean, everybody started more or less at the same time, so it was more a kind of wave. And it's funny how at the beginning of the 80s, everything has been, stopped in a rather brutal way. All the designers of synthesizers, analog synthesizers, went bankrupt, basically, because they were just weirdos. I mean, craftsmen of modern times, and they just disappeared when the Japanese industry of synthesizers went, and went with new kind of instruments. So, I mean, the only inspiration at that moment for me was really based on movies and all the music that was done at the same time. I mean, I was part of also my work. I was part of my own inspiration, if I can say so.
So is it now a thing as well that, you know, you have inspired a lot of dance artists? Do they now return the favour? Because you were saying, oh, you're really into dance music, so they inspire you now the way you inspire them, and it goes round in a circle, or?
You know, it's what I like in the remix type of concept is, I mean, everything is remixing, everybody is remixing everybody. I mean, Picasso remixed African art. I mean, the Beatles remixed Stravinsky or Indian music. And we all remix the remix of somebody in our life. You know, what you call inspiration could be called remixed.
Yeah.
Or remix. If you want, for instance, if you are inspired by somebody, you want to remix his feelings in a sense. I've been really, for instance, I love at the moment people like Underworld or Orbital or Aphex Twin, Prodigy, and all these and Left Field, and I mean, they are very. I mean, I'm really inspired by all those bands and those artists, and in a sense, I'm going to remix them in my next work, not as a pure remix track, but as an inspiration, sources of inspiration. Now,
you've been remixed by a whole bunch of dance artists. One of those you just mentioned a minute ago, The Orb, but you actually, you didn't want the remix, you actually rejected the remix they made for you, right? For
no,
Oxygene.
It's not exactly that. I mean, it's no. I mean, I've always been a big fan of The Orb, and I just wanted for the first wave of remixes something that could be quite close to the track, because the main difference between an instrumental track and a song with lyrics is the fact that in a song I would say the signature of the song is the vocal and the lyrics. Yeah. When you don't have that, the signature of the song is basically the texture of the theme and the theme itself.
Yeah.
And if you get totally rid of that, I mean, you're losing just the link. And I was totally okay for that kind of distance for the second wave of remixes. But for the first wave, I felt it was maybe a bit too soon. And they decided to release it as Oxygene and as part of their production. Yeah. And I feel very honored, and I'm happy to get that kind of indirect tribute.
That's really fascinating, because I really didn't know why it got rejected. Now that you explained it just makes total sense.
Yeah.
And also why the remixes are still quite close to your work, because that we did notice, but it does make total sense what you say for the first wave, to keep it close to that.
Yes, and on top of it, I would never reject anything like that, because I think that everybody can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And if The Orb wants to get their own version, fine.
So are you fine as well with people sampling bits of your music, using bits of your music without having asked permission and really mashing it up, but you still recognise it? How do you feel about stuff like that?
It happened to me so many times that I think it's part of the process, I imagine. Mm. And I always consider that it's better to be copied than not.
Yeah. And it is a good sign.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, I really don't care. I mean, it's you know, when you have done something and somebody is inspired by what you're doing, and it's. I mean, I'm not talking about the kind of, I mean, things that have been really stolen for commercial reasons. That's something linked to legal stuff and all that. But apart from that, I think really that, I mean, it's part of the whole process. I like the way of you do something and somebody else is taking it where you stopped and continuing the process.
Exactly.
But don't you think?
Exactly. No, I agree. Seriously, I do. Anyway, I think we should go and watch another video. And if you want to know more about this man, about Jean-Michel Jarre, then make sure you stay tuned. Oh, yes, you're still watching The Party Zone with Jean-Michel Jarre. Jean-Michel, can you tell me a little bit about the project you did, the music for supermarkets, because that's such a mad story.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about one-offs, and I've been really excited and involved with the kind of something that are not going to be reproduced and just one-offs. And this Music for Supermarkets project was about the idea of producing just one record, like a painting. And this record has been sold at an auction, like a painting. It was a music that has been done for a group of underground painters, French painters in Paris, and they wanted to sell their paintings in an auction, and I've got this idea to produce the record and selling it as a painting.
Right.
So the whole thing was quite strange, because I conceived the whole cover was a series of Polaroids. I mean, showing the whole process of the recording, where I wrote the music and the mixing and all the officials. I mean, checking that it's only one copy that's going to be made and all this. And the last part of this whole collection of Polaroids was in the cover, was a blank space. And during the auction, I shot the owner with my Polaroid, and I put the photo of the owner at the end, and this is what he was ending the story.
Oh wow! So how much did it get auctioned for, and who actually bought it?
I mean, the guy who did it is quite a strange story, because the guy actually almost died in a car crash. He actually died during 2 minutes in a car crash. And when he woke up, the first thing he heard was in the radio of his broken car, Souvenir of China, one song I've done during my China concerts.
Which kind of
Good. So this guy, when he heard about this auction stuff and all that, said, I need to get this piece of music, because this music brought me back to life.
Wow.
Great, strange story.
How bizarre.
Yeah, really bizarre, yeah. The whole thing was quite strange. But we had a lot of fun, and a lot of record companies, suddenly some letters saying, maybe protesting and saying you can't do that, because the whole thing was linked also with a campaign in a FM radio station saying pirate me that night, you have no second chance. So I mean, the record has been played actually only once on the radio. So somewhere in the world you have probably bootleg tapes.
Wow, and you haven't even got it yourself anymore. No. What a bizarre thing. Now also, you were the first Western rock artist who actually played in China.
Yeah, that was like playing on the moon.
Yeah.
After the Mao's time, and all the Chinese had no idea even about who the Beatles were, and who Marilyn Monroe was. I mean, it's really strange, and also for a country so well educated, or with such a great and strong culture.
Yeah.
And they've been really cut off for 40 years about what went on in the West. So it was a great experience to play there, and to come really with a kind of state-of-the-art technology. I mean, with a real rock band, with synthesizers, with a lot of with doing a great show in Beijing and Shanghai.
I must have been so shocked.
It's really great.
I was just stood there like, what is happening? Was it your idea, or was it the idea of the Chinese?
Actually, everything came from the British Embassy in Beijing. They gave Oxygene and Equinoxe to the Chinese radio, and at that Oxygene and Equinoxe have been probably the two first records ever played on the Chinese radio. And because the Chinese radio was for Mao's propaganda,
I know.
You had only one channel and 500 million listeners. So the dream for anybody. For
an artist, yeah. That's why you sold 55 million. If there's
but not in China.
No, I know.
Because the problem is they had at that time, and still now, very few record players.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine.
As we know, the economies, as any communist countries are, is very low.
Yeah, it must have been inspiring. She's also been writing tracks about it. We're going to go and play two of those right now. Yeah. Hey, you're watching A Party Zone on your MTV with Jean-Michel Jarre.
And you know, she knows everything about me. I have the feeling that I'm like in KGB in Party Zone.
Everything. I know everything about this man. So, but in case you don't, we are going to educate you. Well, we're trying to anyhow. And actually, if this show isn't enough for you, if you want to know even more about this man, there are tons and tons of unofficial websites about you. And pretty soon, round about this time now, there's going to also be an official one, right?
Yeah.
An official website.
Yeah, it's launched in February '97, and it's going to be the official website.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a lot of fun with it, and I love the internet concept.
Are you going to be personally involved in creating it all?
Yeah. I mean, I really try to conceive something that could be not only designed for people who have the most ultimate equipment, because most of the time, when you are creating something on the web, you are always starting to push the technology as far as you can. And the result of that is so many people are spending hours to download I mean, too many informations, they're too sophisticated, and they can't just visit your site. So I really try to conceive something that can be sophisticated for people who have, I mean, big computers, or also that can be visited if you have a small modem and small equipment.
So, but how can you kind of like improve on the speed and the picture quality and stuff? Can you actually improve on that, or is it just very much?
No, it's just being able to visit the site with less colors or less audio or less. I mean, to try to get in function of your equipment to get the best of the site, instead of waiting 4 hours and a half to get to download the
one picture.
Yeah, exactly, one picture, and it's like taking 2 minutes to like open 2 pages of a book and reading Moby Dick.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like rediscovering television 70 years later.
I know, it is true. It does get a little bit like that. It does get very frustrating, especially when everybody else wants to visit the site at the same time as you, and then you're stuffed. So
and when Americans wake up for Europe after 2 o'clock, finished.
Yeah, forget about it. It's packed.
So actually, internet is a dream. I mean, what I like so much is, I mean, internet is great until you are sitting in front of your laptop, in a sense, because then it's starting to be a bit long.
I start doing other things. I'm like, go to the side and then start doing something else and go back. We got it yet? No, okay, I'll keep doing this. We got it yet?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. Next to that, something different, right? You have in the past done soundtracks for films, but it's a long time ago. I don't think you have done anything on that front for...
She's very serious now about it.
I am very serious.
You realize that, huh?
Can you see my face going all serious? No, but why is that? Do you feel that you're limited when you make film music? I don't
No, I think that, I mean, doing music without lyrics is, in a sense, doing soundtracks every day for the movie you have
in your mind,
own mind.
Yeah.
I mean, to provide soundtracks for day-to-day life movies that somebody else or the audience can imagine. In a sense, you were talking about internet. I mean, the most interactive medium is music, definitely, because you can really be as creative as you can, and you don't have any pre-digested information, pre-digested images. You can really create your own world.
Yeah.
It's what I like so much in music without lyrics. I think it's strange that since the 50s and since the beginning of rock and roll that we consider that, doing music. I think that sometimes people are, I remember that sometimes people were almost considering me as being an eccentric doing music without lyrics. Strange.
Because it used to always be. Just
plus my very subtle French accent when I'm speaking English, plus the fact that I'm doing these strange shows, I'm a kind of strange animal.
I've got a strange animal on my show. Talking of strange animals, Zoolook. Sorry.
Zoolook.
Sorry, it's very easy, and I don't know why that didn't come out my mouth right. But anyway, Zoolook. You've got loads of animal sounds on there.
Yeah, and I tried in this album. I tried to find a word with more O's, and I found it in Australia. It's wooloo mooloo, 8 O's.
Well, learned something new there. Wooloo mooloo. Anyway, should we go on Zoolook? We'll be back in a minute. Very retro, isn't there, that machine over there? I don't know what it does, but it looks fantastic. And we're in the studio here with Jean-Michel.
Hairdryer, vacuum cleaners, everything.
Anything
it does
you like.
just everything.
Brings you a cup of tea in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, what do I want to talk to you about? Oh yeah, you did an unplugged, right, for radio in like '93, I think it was. And there was also this mad thing. There was like 3 street organ players, and one of those even made a special organ with 14,000 holes, so they could actually play Equinoxe. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. It was an unplugged version of electronic music made by hand. I mean, you know, these old street organs with cardboard and holes, like you play in fun fairs and things like that. So it was a kind of joke I mean, it was an old event of playing electronic music without, just with acoustic process. I mean, it was quite fun.
Funny.
Yeah, quite fun.
And what about, you've got loads of mad ideas, haven't you? Do you just suddenly wake up in the middle of the night and just come up with some other mads? idea.
Yeah, most of the time it's better when it comes at daytime because so that you can sleep or do other things. But you never know.
You don't keep a notepad next to your bed and wake up with fantastic ideas at night time. What about the concepts of your albums? Does that come first? Do you first come with a concept, you know, with like a title, a theme, and then build music around it? Or the music comes and then starts to remind you of something? How does that process kind of work?
It's more the second point. I mean, I'm starting about, I mean, it depends actually. I'm starting about the music and then the concept is coming along. And then I'm using a month afterwards to try to justify the concept with that kind of with people like you. I mean, trying to say why have you called this Oxygene and why have you called this magnetic field or whatever. But I mean, no. I mean, most of the time, I mean, I have a global concept, and I like to get not to start necessarily about specific images, but really. Starting with textures and layers of sounds and I've done a lot of paintings and I'm really into abstract painting and I really consider music and working music with those kind of machines like doing paintings. I mean, or like in a kitchen doing pasta with spices and things like that. I mean, very tactile and very sensual. I mean, when you feel all these things, I mean, it's all these. It's very human. It's very organic. Yeah, it's what I like so much. Yeah, much more organic than a computer.
Just press the button. Yeah. Welcome to the Party Zone with Jean-Michel Jarre. Now, if you missed part 1 of the interview with Jean-Michel Jarre, all I can say is that you missed a very, very good show. But lucky enough, you're tuning in for part 2. So here he is again.
Don't miss part 2. It's what you want to say.
We're a very good team now. He knows exactly where I stop, but then he just jumps back in and just finishes my sentence.
We're preparing a TV show together. Daily.
We'd be pretty good, actually.
Maybe, yeah.
We'd be pretty good.
One in French, one in English, you know, with my very subtle French accent when I'm talking your language.
It's not my language, but anyway, the British people love it. The French accent is something very sexy about it. So anyway, enough about that. Still though, I want to keep it light-hearted and talking about different nations as well, because is it true that you want to do something for the World Cup '98, where from all the qualifying countries, you're going to get a remixer, and all of those are all going to remix one of your Oxygene 7 to 13?
Yeah. It's a work in process at the moment. It's a bit early to say much more because I'm starting all these remixes in 2 months' time from now. But it's something that could be quite exciting because the World Cup is in France and we can. It's good to mix maybe techno and soccer.
Definitely.
It's not bad.
No, definitely, because football is very cool at the moment. You know, football has kind of turned into pop stars nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole thing, it kind of goes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it kind of goes. Yeah. But take it easy with the remix because anything can still happen. Yeah. Whoever's in it today is gone tomorrow. So
yeah, it's true.
Got to be careful with that one. Yeah. Are you a big football fan?
Yeah, I love. I've quite a good friends in the French teams and even Eric Cantona. I remember that
Cantona.
Yeah, I remember in Manchester we were playing both stadiums. He was playing in one stadium and I was playing not football but music in the other stadium.
Yeah.
Very good. We had a long night afterwards.
Wow! Now he's the only footballer that I really want to meet. I admire that man.
I can arrange this.
Yes.
You know, Eric. We have I think I have a date for you.
I just want to meet him. I just want to go and say hi.
Yeah, just hi.
Play a bit of football with him. Anyway, should we go and watch video? Should we go and watch Oxygene 4, 5, one of them? I don't know. One of those.
Oxygene. Anyway.
Okay, I'm still here in the studio of Jean-Michel Jarre. Now, I'd like to talk to you about 2 concerts you did, the Rendezvous concerts. There was one that you did in Houston, which was for the 150th anniversary of the city and the 25th anniversary of NASA.
That's right.
And also one in Lyon for the visit of the Pope, Jean-Paul II.
Yeah, in my hometown. So 2 projects very close to the sky, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
NASA and the Pope. And not two things that happened or link with what's going on up there.
But stuff like that and the concerts that you did in China, I mean, are these things your ideas, or do people come up to you going, hey, we've got the Pope coming, can you go and play some music for him, please? It just seems very kind of odd. I mean,
it was really strange because the whole project with Houston, I mean, it took 2 years. I mean, the music director of the city of Houston tried to convince me to go to play Texas. And I said, why Texas? Why Houston? And then he insisted so much that I went there and I really fell in love with the skyline. I said, God, it could be great rave over there. So, I mean, the idea came to use the skyline as the backdrop of the concert. And on top of it, I've been involved with NASA because NASA decided for the first time of its history to be involved in a rock concert or in music. And one of the ideas was to get one of the astronauts playing live in the weightlessness, some saxophone. It was a crazy project, and we became really good friends with one of the astronauts called Ron McNair, and he rehearsed. I wrote a special piece for him called Ron's Piece. That's in the album of the Rendezvous album, and so he rehearsed, and the whole thing became really something really big and bigger and bigger. And just before the launching of the mission, he gave me a call here in this studio, telling me, "Okay, I'm ready, and everything is fine, and the cameras will be up there in the shuttle, and watch me at for takeoff in the afternoon." So I switched on the TV, and I saw Challenger exploding. It was so sad and so depressing.
Oh my God.
And I wanted really to cancel the whole thing. And then I've got some astronauts telling me, you have to do this concert for us, because also, I mean, the world has to understand that astronauts are not just like robots. I mean, they are also human beings with hobbies, and they love music and all sorts of things. So it became really something special, like a kind of party, but also memorial, and a concert, but also memorial to the astronauts. And the whole thing was very moving, and it has been really a great concert.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had no idea. I had
really
no idea that was the story behind it.
And then just a week after that, and 1.5 million people, 1.3 million people came along, and I remember this fantastic shot of two MTV guys from MTV US were walking by the road, and on the highway, and you just had car one after one stopped, like in the traffic.
Yeah.
And just you have the camera being zooming out, and you realize that the cars were empty. People had left the highway, left their cars, and they were just watching the show on the side of the highway. It was really incredible night. And then 2 weeks later, the city of Lyon, my hometown, gave me a call saying, "Here we have the visit of the Pope. Would you consider to come and do a concert?" And I've been involved, after this absolutely crazy story of just what Houston happened, into another kind of extraordinary adventure. I mean, with the Vatican and being involved with all this religious atmosphere. And on top of it, the stage was put, I mean, where I was going with my grandmother when I was a kid to the marketplace. It was on the very, where I grew up. It was really mad. And it was a very difficult time in France at that time. It was when we had a lot of terrorists from Iran. And so one terrorist was put in jail 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before, in the city. So everybody was very nervous.
Scared,
And also Klaus Barbie, the guy, the Nazi, also he had this incredible trial in the city at the same time. So all the police was very nervous, and the whole thing became a crazy year. I mean, those two. I mean, we can talk about this for hours, because they've been really like operas.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've lived in the most amazing life.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Well, anyway, let's just go another one of Jean-Michel's tracks even, and we'll be back in a minute. It's like, it's so much going on. Okay, I'm still here with Jean-Michel Jarre, and like the first show, again, it's so fascinating. I love talking to this man. Don't you ever get to a point where it actually gets quite hard to talk to people, where it's almost like you've seen so much, have done so much, that almost you feel like, no, I can't tell them that, they think I'm showing off. And you almost get to a stage where you don't want to make them feel bad, because I'm sure there's not many people who can top what you've done in their lives.
Yeah, now, having said that, I really feel like a beginner all the time. I mean, because everything I've done was such a one-off and something in itself really strange, and that I really feel like, for instance, I'm starting now my an indoor tour. It's my first indoor tour.
Yeah.
I really feel like a beginner. I'm quite scared about that, because everything I've done was, I mean, I've been really so special, unusual, that it's strange.
Yeah.
I like it, I suppose.
What do you think, actually, of, say, I mean, I'm just, just giving an example. Say, for instance, when you two did the Zoolook tour and they got so much press and everyone's going, oh, wow, fantastic. And you've been doing that kind of stuff for a long, long time. Do you ever feel like, what is going on? Why are people making such a fuss when someone else does something I've always done?
You mean about what?
About, I mean, that, say for instance as well, I mean, everyone knows you, yeah? There has been a lot of press about you, but then compared to, say, the amount of records you sold and compared to what you've actually done, the press isn't there as much. Say, like Bon Jovi sells 7 million records, everyone's like, Bon Jovi sold 7 million, and they're in every single magazine. You've sold 55 million. And you hear much less in the press often about you. And also with you too, they do something that you've always done and everyone's going, how amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when I started these outdoor projects, I mean, I created a kind of art form, and I was really alone on that field. And it's really strange to see that at the end of the 80s, some rock bands, as you said, like U2 and other people, I mean, started really to be more and more involved into getting visuals with their acts and with their performances, and I like the fact that so many people joined the concept.
Yeah,
it's maybe the reason why I'm now doing small theaters, maybe. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think it's good to keep a kind of smoke, I mean, curtain of smoke around you, around. I think it's good for an artist to never be where you think he is, and I like that. I mean, it's the reason why I like not repeating myself and not doing tours. I mean, this tour I'm going to do now is going to be a one-off, also a one-off for 1 year. But I'm not going to repeat this every 2 years like a lot of other acts.
I definitely want to go and watch this man. I know that for sure, especially after these interviews I've been conducting with the man. So anyway, should we go and watch another video? Which one should we watch? Calypso, yeah?
Why not?
Why not? Okay, let's go and watch it. Okay, I'm still here with Jean-Michel Jarre on your party zone. Now, Jean-Michel, was it last year? I think it was last year when Robert Miles came out with Children, and it caused the real stir. Everyone's talking about Dream House. Again, something that you were basically doing about 20 years ago. Is it true, actually, that you've approached Robert Miles as well to do a remix for you? Is that right?
I mean, in the second wave of remixes, I mean, I know that we've been in contact. I've not been in contact directly, but with, I mean, his producer called the record company when DJ Dado, I mean, the guy who did the remix for X-Files, did the first one, and he said that he would be interested to do another remix, and I would be very, very happy, because it's also something else than remixes from the UK or from France. It's a different feel also. And I really see these various remixes all along the year for Oxygene 7 to 13 until 1998 with a lot of I mean, unusual type of remixes. I mean, I'm in contact with remixes from Sarajevo in Yugoslavia, or from Egypt, or from Russia. I mean, to try to get an ethnic feel to the remixes, and for people to put a bit of their roots in remixes, and instead of always going to established acts from the UK or France or Germany or Italy or America. I mean, to try to find other people, I mean, for instance, I'm working with somebody like Mdu from South Africa. He's doing a very strange and interesting version of Oxygene 7 at the moment. I mean, I really like the idea of exploring various ways and various countries and putting a bit of different cultures in remixes.
Yeah. What about artists that are around, like, you know, on the dancing and stuff? Who do you personally admire at the moment?
At the moment, I'm really listening a lot of Underworld and Orbital, Left Field, Prodigy, Chemical Brothers, Aphex Twin. I mean, all these artists I really like, and I really would like Apollo 440 also. I really like all this. I mean, they're all very different approaches, but they're all also involved in a kind of organic type of approach of music, and I feel very close. I feel a lot of close links, and I feel very close to these to all these artists. By the way, they are approaching technology, approaching textures and sounds in the. I feel really the techno scene, even if all these artists are not purely techno, but I mean, all the techno scene, I mean, generally speaking, is certainly the major movement of the 90s, because of this kind of very fresh and idea about parroting technology. I mean, doing sounds with basically anything, and getting very fresh and lack of preconceived ideas. And I really like that, because I've done that all the time. It's the field I'm really comfy with, and I like to explore also, like with this kind of strange machines we have around us.
So, what do you think, by the way, of drum and bass, talking of all these things, jungle?
Oh, I love it.
You love it as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's really great. I mean, I love jungle a lot, and I'm considering of using more of kind of jungle feel at the end of the year for other remixes, and to end maybe in 1998 with an all remix album of Oxygene 7 to 13 with various kind of remixes, including jungle and trance and other things.
Do you actually get the feeling now, because the way you've been working is quite different from what everyone else has been doing, and now, as you say, a lot of young people, they're just experimenting and doing that stuff, all the kind of things that you've always been doing. Do you actually get the feeling like you were on a desert island for a long time on your own, and suddenly everyone's moved in, and does it actually get that kind of feeling, like, wow?
Yeah, in a sense, but you know, it's great. I mean, it's a great feeling. I mean, when I started as a kid with all these kind of instruments, I was really like an eccentric, totally. And now we have quite a lot of weirdos around.
Yeah.
So I feel less alone.
Now you're more normal again.
Yeah, not maybe more normal, but maybe we have more weirdos around us.
And we applaud the weirdos. We like that. Anyway, let's go and watch another video, and we'll be back in a minute. Oh, it's almost the end of another party zone. The second party zone we did with Jean-Michel Jarre.
We are almost exhausted.
I know, but there's still not enough time. It's like we can do another 6 shows and it will still be interesting.
Let's do it. I mean, let's do it. Yes, let's have a part 3, a part 4, like in Oxygene.
Like Oxygene.
You start to understand